Hello and welcome to the Pam Show. I am Pam Palanza, your parenting mentor, focusing on common sense behavior management for neurotypical children aged 2 to 12. Today, we're going to talk about ways you can set your children up for success instead of failure. And I'm going to give you an example of something I witnessed yesterday. I was at a local park exercising and filming some reels. I did actually shot a reel about this. It should air, I think, next week, but here's what happened. I heard a mother yell to her child, "Don't run. Stop running. If you run again, we're going home." And then a minute later, what do you think I heard again? "I told you. How many times do I have to tell you? If you don't stop running, we're going home." Did she go home? And she did not. She did not. So let's talk about this for a minute. And this is just one example, and I see this a lot, and I hear this a lot when I'm in public, when I'm at the grocery store, when I'm at the park, or places with my grandchildren. I see parents threatening children, not following through, not providing direction and instruction on what they should do, but telling them what to stop doing, and then getting frustrated when they continue doing it. There's a lot going on here. Okay. And let me just tell you this too. I think I alluded to this in one of my reels or maybe even one of my shows, but a mom was in Target with her children. They're in the cart. They're fussing, trying to grab at stuff, the candy bars and the gum and everything they put on the end of the aisles there to drive your kids crazy. And you, as you're checking out, kids want, right? And so the mom was like, "You kids are driving me crazy. Why aren't you behaving?" And then, okay, good. Yes, I'll buy this for you. Just stop it. Okay, all right. So a couple things going on there. And let me just dig into this a little deeper. I spent 20 years working with childcare facilities, teachers in classrooms to get them ready for state assessments. Part of that entailed me sitting on the floor for 3 to 4 hours, observing the classroom, the teacher, the interactions, counting toys, seeing what was going on, listening to how the teacher spoke, watching how she managed children's behavior, how she supervised the classroom. There was a lot happening in that for 3 or 4 hours. And I will never forget one teacher in particular who was very frustrated because it was circle time. And so she called all the children over to this rug. And there were 15 3-year-olds. And the rug was like a round rug, but it wasn't large enough for all of the children to fit on comfortably. Now, these are 3-year-olds. They're sitting beside each other, and one would be right up next to them. And they're going, "Teacher, he's touching me. Teacher, I need my space. Teacher, make a move." And the teacher was trying to read a story, and she was getting agitated and irritated because every few seconds she's having to stop and manage a situation. And at the end, I said to her, "Let's talk about that for a minute. What happened here?" She said, "Well, they just were fussing. They wouldn't sit still. They weren't listening to me." Okay, and why do you think that was? I don't know. I mean, they were sitting on the carpet. They're supposed to sit on that carpet and listen, and they weren't. And I said, "But did you notice that the carpet was not large enough to accommodate all 15 of those children comfortably? They literally had to sit next to each other because you wanted them on the carpet. You insisted they had to be on the carpet. Is there a reason that they had to be on that carpet? They couldn't sit back a little bit, maybe on the floor, have a little bit more room?" And she looked at me kind of blank. You see, in this situation, she had set herself up and the children up for failure. And why would you want to do that? And I said, "Well, how about you get a larger rug?" Problem solved. Get a larger rug or let them sit back on the floor. Problem solved. There was some money available to buy materials and equipment for the classroom. In that classroom, we ordered a larger rug. Now, the next time story time came, the children had space. They had room. They weren't sardined up next to each other. And they were engaged with the teacher when she was reading the story. And that's just one example. I saw this over and over and over in classrooms where teachers, they weren't doing it intentionally, But they just weren't looking at it, I guess, like I was from different eyes, right? Because right in the midst of it. And they're dealing with all these issues all day long, like you are as a parent. And so you don't always have the opportunity to step back and observe yourself in action. And I did. And so I worked with a lot of teachers on ways we could improve the situation so they weren't setting the children up for failure and then getting frustrated when the children acted like children react. And then just snowballed. And then the teacher would get agitated, and then the children picked up on the agitation, and then the teacher got angry. Does any of us sound familiar to you as a parent? So in this case, with this mom, at first she said, don't run, or we're going to go home. But a minute later, she was raising her voice. Didn't I tell you not to run? Because you see, she was now getting angry that her child was not listening to her, but she taught him he didn't have to. Now, follow me on this one. And I always say this. I say this so many times, I get tired of saying it. Say what you mean what you say, and follow through every single time. It's simple. It's just common sense, but you have to be willing to do it. All right. First of all, in this situation, she should have told him what she wanted him to do. You need to walk. Very clear. Very clear. Children need short, sweet, to the point directions. You need to walk. And she could have said, and if you continue to run, you're going to sit. For every time you run, you're going to sit for 5 minutes. Now, if that's what she wanted to do, she could have said, if you run again, we are going home. And then she should have left, if that's what she said. So be careful what you say to children. Now, remember, the consequences aren't necessarily about punishment or shaming children. It's teaching them, guiding them, showing them what they need to do. It's about growth, right? They don't always know what to do. And so in this case, she could have said, if you continue to run, and depending on the child's age, she could say, if you choose to run, because I would say you need to let the children know it is their choice. Here's the deal. If you choose to run, you're going to sit on the bench for 5 minutes. Okay. And then when the child runs, oh, I see you chose to run. Time to sit on the bench. I'll set my watch. That's it. Calm, in control. Oh, I see you chose to run. It's on the child. I see you chose to do that. Come sit. If they start fussing or crying, bench. If they cry, start screaming, you can physically put them on the bench without saying anything. And if they continue, you can say, if you continue to scream, we're going home. If that's what your option is, we're going home. They continue to scream, you go home. Okay. If they don't, say they sit there for 5 minutes, as soon as those 5 minutes are up, you go, okay, you can go play. Remember, we walk. That's it. You don't have to go into lectures. You don't need TED Talks. You don't need to ask them, how did you feel when you were running? Why were you running? Mommy doesn't want you to run. You could fall and get hurt. You could skin your knee. They're not hearing you. Save your breath. Save your breath. Okay. Now with older kids, yes, you can get a little more detail. Younger kids, no. Boom, boom, boom. Short, sweet, to the point. Now let's go back to the lady in the store. It was Target, actually. And this poor mom looked so frazzled. I felt for her. I really felt for her. I've been there, done that, right? I raised 4 kids. I have 8 grandchildren. I've worked in childcare for 40 years. I get it. It's not always easy. So they're in the cart. They're like 6 and 8 years old. They know better. But they're grabbing, and one's standing up, and they're trying to reach for candy. And she goes, sit down. You're going to fall. You're going to go. You're driving me crazy. Now, let me just take a wild guess here. That wasn't the first time that happened. I guarantee you that was not the first time that happened. Or they wouldn't have been doing it. But here's what happened. She caved. She caved. She gave them the candy that they wanted. Okay, okay, I'll buy it for you. Just sit down. You guys aren't coming with me next time. Yeah, right. I'll bet they're with her next time. I can just tell. Yep. So she bought him the candy. Now, what do you think they learned? Because remember, you're teaching. They're watching you. You're modeling for them. You're letting out the expectations. You're telling them very clearly how you expect them to behave. In this case, what she was saying to them was, you act like that and you're going to get rewarded with candy. Instead, it could have been something like, you need to sit in that buggy still. Next time, maybe become you get candy, but the way you're acting right now, that does not earn candy. Done. Out you go. They're 6 and 8. They knew it. They know what they were supposed to do, but they also knew they could get away with it because they did. They did. She taught them this is what you need to do. She set them up for failure. Okay. Set them up for failure, but then she rewarded them for doing what they weren't supposed to do. And I see this all the time with parents. And I know you're well-meaning. I'm not saying you're all terrible parents. No, I'm saying you have to learn the skills necessary to manage children's behavior appropriately. Because remember, discipline is not punishing. That's two very different things, two very different things. Discipline is teaching, guiding, explaining to children. Here's another example. Your child's jumping on the couch in the house, and you go, stop jumping on that couch. Get down right now. If you don't get down right now, you're going to go to your room. And then the child starts hopping on the couch with one foot. And you go, what are you doing? I told you to stop jumping on that couch. And they go, but I'm not jumping, I'm hopping. Because they are. Because children are very literal, and you've told them stop jumping, they stop jumping. But now they're hopping. So instead, what could you have said? Your feet belong on the floor. If you want to jump, you may do that outside. Boom, done. Or like I say to my older grandchildren, have you lost your mind? Get your behind off my furniture. That works. That works. I wasn't sugarcoating it. Get your behind off my furniture. You know better than that. And they did. Okay. You choose to handle however you want to handle it. But my point is, tell them exactly what they need to do. Now, did I tell my grandchildren what they need to do? I said, get your butt off my furniture. In that case, I sure did. They knew because see, here's the thing. They were older. They already knew. But you make sure you tell your children what you expect them to do. Be very clear. And if you're going to give them a consequence, you follow through every single time. It's not always convenient. It's not always easy. But if you say it, you have to follow through. So in this case at the park, when the mother said, if you run, we're going to go home, the minute that child ran, she should have picked him up or taken him by the hand, put him in the car, and gone home. Now, there's no talking about it on and on and on and on and on. It would just be as simple as you chose to run, it's time to go home. That's it. That's it. You put the child in the car. They could scream at you all they want. They go home. Once they've calmed down, you say, next time we go to the park, you need to walk. That's it. Oh, save your breath. Save all this yakety, yakking at your children. Be very clear. Be very specific. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. And when they do it, praise them for it. We don't want to forget that part. So in this case, if mom had said, instead of, don't run, quit running, she'd said, you need to walk, please. You need to walk, please. And if he continued and he walked, you'd say, thank you so much for walking. You must have your listening ears on today, or that's going to keep you safe. That's it. That's it. Beautiful. Told him what to do. Does this make sense? If this makes sense to you, put like a yes in the comments below and be sure to subscribe because I have plenty more where this came from. But stop making problems for yourself. A lot of times as parents, you are creating these problems because you're telling them what not to do instead of what to do. And then you're not following up with what you said was going to happen, or you're threatening, which you shouldn't be threatening. You're just telling the children, matter of fact, what's going to happen, what the expectation is. And you say it, but it's so absurd that you're not going to follow through on it. You know, like, you're going to be grounded for a month. Well, seriously, are you really going to ground your child for a month? No, probably not, because that means you're grounded for a month. So then here's what happens. You have taught your children that you don't mean what you say because you're not going to ground them for a month. You're going to probably go, okay, okay, never mind. Which brings me to my next point. If you say you're going to do something, do not back down. So be careful what that expectation is and the consequences, because you have to be willing to back it up. Like I said, it's not always convenient. It's not always easy. Do you want to drive to the store because you have shopping to do and now your child's acting up and you say, because this is what you say, you need to be calm while we're in the store. If you choose to not behave, we're leaving, but you need to define what behave is. I guess some children don't know. What do you expect them to do? If you choose to be grabbing things or yelling or not staying in the car or raising your voice, we're going home. And then they do those things, you immediately go home. Go home. Because that's what you said you were going to do. It's up to you. You're the adult. Remember, you're the parent. You're in charge. Make those decisions, but make them wisely. Follow through. And only say what you mean what you say. And also make sure you tell them what they need to do. And I'm going to wrap this up with another example. So a couple of years ago, I had two of my grandchildren with me in the car, and they were probably like 7 and 4 at the time, maybe. And I said, hey guys, today we're going to go to the library and the park. Which do you want to do first? Well, what do you think happened? One said library, one said park, like right away. Okay, these are siblings. That happens, right? And I just stayed very calm. I said, okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to talk amongst yourselves back there because they were in the back seat. I was driving down the road. And I'll give you a minute to make a decision. And if you can't make one that you both agree on, then I'm going to make the decision. And if you fight about it, we're going to turn around and go home. That was it. Very calm. Now, 30 seconds, I hear them back there chattering. 30 seconds later, okay, we'll go to the park first. Great. I said, great job. You guys worked together to figure that out. Way to go, guys. That was it. Because they knew I would have turned around and gone home. Did they really want to go home? No. Did I really want to turn around and take them back home? No. But I would have. I would have in a heartbeat because that's a lesson. And they would have learned it, natural consequences. Okay. Signing off for today, but stay tuned for Thursday's episode. And remember, hit subscribe and share this with a friend. We'd love to have more people come on, check this stuff out. All right. Remember, guys, hug and love your babies. Bye, y'all.